Thanks for tuning in. Today's live chat is all about grieving, overcoming the loss of a loved one. I don't know many people who haven't had somebody in their life pass away. If they haven't, then they're really fortunate, but inevitably it's going to happen to all of us. So it's useful to have some tools and techniques for dealing with it, basically. Gurcharan, I hope you're doing well. So how do you deal with it? Okay, so I'm not an expert on this, and I was talking to my wife, and from a Sikhi perspective, it's kind of how you deal with it would be really different to what I'm going to be talking about today. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of people who've dealt with it a lot better than me, so definitely get their input as well, but this is just sharing what's helped for me with my audience. So one of the things that helped when my brother passed away was, for those of you who don't know, about 4 years yesterday, he had a heart attack at work. He was a security manager for National History Museum. I got a phone call to say he's not well. Hey Jesse, hope you're doing well, hope Ian had a good birthday. And that he had a cough and that he's been taken to hospital. So then I drove to the hospital, and the whole time I'm driving there I'm thinking I'm going to have a go at him, so he needs to sort his health out, he needs to start exercising more, all those kind of things. And then I get to the hospital and I get the news that they tried to resuscitate him for some time because he was so young, but they were unsuccessful, and he was in the he was going to have an angiogram, so he was in that lab, the angio lab, at St Thomas's, next to right in Central, so next to the National History Museum. And then I don't think that it kind of hit me then, because I knew what I needed to do then, which was inform everyone in the family. So I had to phone everyone. I think initially I phoned my mum. No, because what they do is they send the police around, right? So if somebody passes away, they send the police to your house. And they told me, the hospital told me the police were on the way to my house, and I didn't want the police to do the door and then tell my mum and my sister-in-law. So, because this was late, it's probably about, I think, 11:30 at night or something by this point. I think he passed away around 9, or when he had the heart attack was around 9. He was in his office, and there's some issues around that. Obviously his workplace shouldn't have told us that he just had a cough and that he's fine. So we had some misinformation, but by that time when I was phoning family members, it was about 11:30, I think. I could see Big Ben from outside the hospital. It was quite a chilly night, and obviously around this time of year it's not too cold, not too hot, but it's just the air was quite cold, and was looking at Big Ben and just trying to come to terms with everything that was happening, and it just feels a bit like a bad dream, right? So I phoned my mum first, and I think I told her first, or my sister-in-law first. And my sister-in-law, she didn't believe it. She couldn't make sense. So that was difficult. My mum was a lot more composed, and then she kind of wanted to know what happened. She was like, how, what, and all that kind of stuff. And then she was like, and then so then the police came around at that point as well. So then my sister-in-law was a bit of a wreck, to be honest, at that point, which is understandable. I would be. And then the police were probably talking to her, and then I was talking to my mum, and then I was like, my mum said, okay, we'll make our way down, you need to phone the aunts and uncles. So then I phoned the aunts and uncles, which was, again, it was difficult, but it wasn't like how hard it was to tell my sister-in-law, because she was 7 months pregnant at the time, and she'd obviously just seen my brother a few hours ago, said bye to him at work, and given him a kiss. He'd given my niece, so his daughter, a kiss goodbye, and he seemed, they didn't even expect that to happen at that point. So then there's the initial shock of it, and some of my family, like just see my sister is on, my cousin is in this live chat, so the family really gave us a lot of support, and so see they're grieving themselves, but we had so much support that initial week went a lot smoother. And her, for example, she just continued to be a superstar in terms of taking my niece and nephew out, and being there for the family when like, especially on occasions when otherwise we'd really feel it. Like, just really appreciate her in our lives. But yeah, so what helped initially, you had to kind of pretend to be strong at that point, right? Because everyone's just completely, a lot of people were just completely breaking down, so you had to just pretend. And then try and keep it together. And it's easier because we had the support of family and friends, so everyone came together, which was just invaluable. So if you live somewhere and you have family and friends close by, it's just such an asset if you're going through like real hardship. So that is definitely invaluable. You see the value of having like a family, and when something like that happens, family and friends. So, and then it was after the first week, I think, when everyone went home and life kind of went back to normal. I had 2 weeks compassionate leave off work, and then I'd just lie in bed and didn't really, kept waking up thinking, was that a dream? Was that real? I'd have a dream, and then in the dream he'd say, oh yeah, I'm not really, I haven't really died. I was just messing about, and everyone's just mistaken. And then you just wake up and you think, did that really happen? Like, what's reality? Is him passing away reality, or was the dream reality? And for a just split second, you kind of think, you breathe that sigh of relief because you think he's still there, but then you realise actually it's not. So that took a while, and I probably went back to work too soon. So I went back to work after 2 weeks, and I think my first session back I had to teach resus, which was how he passed away. So there wasn't anybody to resuscitate him. I think I broke down in tears during the training. So I had a room full of doctors, nurses, physios, and I was meant to be teaching this resus move, and I was like, I really shouldn't be here. This was a bad move to go back to work too soon and think that it'll be fine. Getting back into routine will help me. I think it was, yeah. So what helped me during that time was gratitude. Definitely helped, and it wasn't deliberate, but just thinking about, my sister was pregnant at the time, and you could think, wow, that's terrible to lose her husband while she's pregnant, and he never got to see his son and all of that kind of stuff. And but I think at that point in time I was thinking, we're really grateful, because we could have I lost my dad at a young age. We could have lost him earlier, and we wouldn't have had the blessing of my nephew, he's just incredible human being. So I feel grateful that we have him in our life, that he was around for long enough for us to have him in our life. Oh, I love you too, Benji. And the other thing I was grateful for was that just the family. People who live in, like, I know I've been to Canada and Vancouver and places like that, and people seem a lot more isolated. Whereas in the UK, I think because everything's so close knit, we just had so much support. So many people turn up for his funeral. The pallbearer, the funeral company, said they had never seen so many people at a funeral before, and that just was a testament to how many lives he how many people liked him, and my mum. So a lot of people came because of my mum as well, because they like my mum. So that was really just how many people came up to the funeral just really meant a lot as well. So thank you to all of you who came to the funeral. Really means a lot. So that was the gratitude for all of that kind of really helped. And then when I was lying in bed just being miserable and being ratty with my wife all the time, she's amazing, because she supported me through that process and putting up with me. She has to deal with the worst of me, which is a lot of me. And then she initially I just felt anger. I'm not sure who towards, but probably she took it out on her. And then I just lying in bed one day, and I thought, I can't just sit in bed and sulk for the rest of my life. I'm going to need to do something. And then being goal orientated. So the second thing that really helped me, as well as the gratitude, was being goal orientated. So I thought I need to get in a position to be able to provide for him and his daughter and his son, and that became a goal, because I thought, he wouldn't want me to just. My brother was quite jovial, and I thought he would not want me to just sit in bed and mope. He'd be like, get up and do something. Don't be a bum. So his kind of words, or just kind of rang in my head in terms of how upbeat he was about stuff, and when kind of the SHIT would hit the fan, he'd always be like, you need to just get on with it. So So that was really helpful. Being goal oriented and thinking, I need to help his son, I need to help his daughter, and I need to be in a position to be able to do that. So I need to just work my arse off, and I think that's partly why I do as much as I do, because of that goal. So I definitely want to be in a position to support my Babaji and my son. My son and my daughter and my wife and my mum and also his son and daughter. So a lot of work that needs to be done. So that's the. Why would you want me to add you to your live? Add me to my live? I'm talking about grievance, so it wouldn't really make sense. So that's kind of where I was at with grieving. So the things I'd say helped me was gratitude. Definitely helps if you've lost somebody. Just even if it's writing it down, that whole cognitive experience of writing it down. And then the second thing would be being goal orientated and having goals and writing those down and just focusing on those. So when you kind of feel like you're falling into the pit of despair and you feel like actually what's this all about and what's life all about, then goals can kind of help to pull you out of that. And then also I was talking to my wife about this. I don't think I dealt with it that well, but I find that a lot of people, especially wives, who Harsh, I think I'm going to have to block you. Is there a way to block you? Yeah, I think we've done it. There we go. The other way is to your faith. People who have the strongest faith, I think, just do incredibly well. Just so I would say build on your faith. And when I meet women who've lost their husband, lost a child, and I think, how are these women so strong? Like my mum, for example, she lost her husband and her child, and I think just the stronger the faith you can have in whatever it is, the universe, in God, in spirituality, that the kind of the better you do. So definitely community, family, friends, and faith is really key to this. So hopefully that helps. If anybody's struggling with kind of grievance, then do reach out to me and we can talk about it. And but otherwise, love you all. Thanks for tuning into the live, and we'll catch you on the next live.